Hey guys, welcome back to InventBox, and in today's video we're going to be learning how to use Gimp. So let's get started. So Gimp is a program very similar to Adobe Photoshop, except it's free and open source. So it might not have some of the same features, but it basically can do everything. Basically everything the same Photoshop can do. So let's go ahead and start a new file by going to File, New, and then you can change your image size depending on the size of your image. We're just going to keep it default. And then open the toolboxes on the side. Go up here to Windows, and then click New Toolbox. And I always like to put my toolbox on this side. Drag it out a little bit. Drag it down. Just get it to the size I like it. And then once you close them in your recently closed docs, they'll have the two that you use, and we want layers, channels, paths, undo, brushes, patterns, gradients, all those. So then put that there. And then layers and brushes, that's this one. So now that we have our toolboxes set up, let's start by going to our brush. Right there. So here's our paintbrush, and you have different hardnesses. You can get a really hard brush or softer, really soft, like a soft oval. So you have all these different settings for different scenarios, but one way you can tell this is an open source software is the green pepper. There is a green pepper brush. What software has a green pepper? You definitely won't be finding that in Photoshop. So let's open up our, I think we want tool options, and then once you have tool options, you can click and drag on the tab and drop it there. So now you have your tool options there. We can drag this out a little more. Alright, there we go. Now you can bump your size up, and there's your green pepper. I think is hilarious. So you can paste green peppers as much as you want. So you can use all these different tools they have to create different effects that you want. So if we want, we can create our background layer to be this. So let's just try to cover everything in dots. Just like this. So now that we have that, let's create a new layer. And let's put on this layer the cell feature. And then let's flip these two colors so it'll be white. And we can go over this just like that. And this is a cell feature, and remember, this is on another layer. So we can create another layer, but then if we want to get rid of that, we can just make that layer disappear by clicking the eyeball. So then on this layer, you can just do whatever you want. You can put this around the edges, and we can flip it back to black if you want. And flip it back to black. Put that around the edges. Now you can just do whatever you want on this layer. So let's try to just go around the edges like we're making a picture frame. So I'll do a couple textures. Just So this is, whoops. And then we can go to this one and just add little splotches of that. Add that little darkness to it. And then just play around with it. Get it to how you like it. Find filters that you like. Click around it like that. And then just play around with it until you have it to how you like it. Okay, so these are all on different layers now. So now that we have this finished, you can take away separate layers. So, say I wanted to add a picture in there, you could create another layer, put the picture on it, and then rearrange it to go in there. So then, on this layer, if we were going to frame a picture, I don't have a picture though, if we were going to do a drawing though, what we could do is draw it in there. A real rough drawing. Let's redo that. That was pretty bad. Just like that. And that looks good. Now you can color those in to how you like it. And I'll color them in with this. Whoa, that does not look good. I like the cell. Golden dots. So you can just fill them in like that. But then keep in mind, this is on a totally different layer. So you would be able to put whatever image you wanted in here, make it go away, and put another one. So if you're making a picture frame that has that little stuff around the edges, like you'll see those normally whenever you get off of an amusement park ride, they'll have pictures and then there'll be like water splashes all around the outside, and you could do that with this same method. So that's what you can do with layers. So let's undo all this real quick, get a nice blank page. So if you want to change the color that you're going to be drawing with, click on the black, and then it changes. It brings up the drop-down menu that will let you select what color you want. And you might think, I only have basically white, black, and red, and then in between all those colors. And how you change that is in this slider, you can drag this down and try to fine-tune it to the color you want. And then once you get it there, you can fine-tune how dark you want it or how light you want it. So if we want to do kind of a grayish, we can take this up to whatever color. It's always going to be pure black over here and pure white over here. And I want a little bit of a gray. Lighter gray. And then the secondary color is going to be a black. So it's basically black on gray. So now if what we want to do is, this is a really cool feature. So say I click right here and then hold down shift. Let's go into a hard brush. Hold down shift. I can drag this around, click to where I want, just like that. And I'm also holding down Control and Shift so it'll click like this. And then put it to where I want and click. And then go back here, put it to where I want it and click. Just like that. So then we can go up here just like this. And then come down here. And draw it up just like that. And then do the top like that. So then you can click the arrows here and it'll switch the colors that you're using. And then if you wanted, you can just fill in here kind of like that. And that looks good. So you can do that. Oops. If you want to redo, just do Control Y and that'll redo that. Or you can go up here to Edit and then you can undo or redo. So another tool that you'll be using a lot is the airbrush tool. So what that does is the longer you keep it in one spot, the darker it'll get. So if you move really fast, it'll be light, but if you move really slow, it'll be darker. So this would be for if you're drawing an image and you're actually doing the graphics. And if you want to get that a little smoother, go to a smoother brush instead of being on such a hard setting. And that will come out looking a lot smoother. So here's where if you want to add like depth to the image, if we want a really fine brush, you know, you can just go around and have it add that depth. And if you want to go on a little bit fatter of a brush, that'll add a little bit of a shade there. So that's a pretty interesting tool. Now, I like the stamp tool. So if we just drop a little image, let's go here. Let's select the green pepper. Take the size up a little bit and paste some green peppers. Green peppers are great. So now we have our green peppers pasted. Let's do something in the background. Let's put sparkles around the edges. Okay, so if we do the stamp tool, hold down Control. I should take the size down a little bit. Hold down Control and click there. Now, whenever we do that, it will draw whatever is right where that is. So what we can do is actually take this away from the sparkles, put it on a hard brush setting, and you can see what it's doing. So if you want, you can make everything basically the same thing that's right there where I have that shown up. So if we just do this, we'll make it look like where we set the stamp to. And we set the stamp just by holding down Control. So if we clear this up, and then we can, it starts like making a lot of copies of it, and that's looking pretty cool. So now we just slowly go around. It'll copy the green peppers in that spot. So we can fill the entire screen with that. And this was really useful if you wanted to copy something and kind of duplicate it throughout the entire page. So let's undo that. Get this back to normal. Okay. So, of course, there's a smudge tool. You can use that just to smudge different features in. So if we get a smaller brush, we can say we wanted to make this reflection on this a little bigger. You can smudge out the reflection. Or if you want to make it a little more prominent, you can do that. So we can do that. Or see if I drag from the green in, you can see what it's doing. So you can do that with the smudge tool. So that's a useful tool for photo editing, which Gimp is really good at. So say you want to crop an image. The image up here with the X-Acto knife, so I just want this part to save my file. I can just click there, hit enter, and it'll crop everything in there. We don't need to do that. So if we use this, we can do our own selecting box. So I do that, and then meet these two edges up. And go to the bucket and fill tool, and it'll only affect stuff in the square. So I'm gonna take the threshold up, and see it doesn't do anything outside of that, which is really useful. So I'd say one of my favorite tools in Gimp that I use all the time is if you go over here to the select by color tool, and we select this bit of green here, it'll go through the image and select all the same areas of green that are that same color, and you can adjust the threshold to tell you how sensitive you want it to be. If you want to do that, it'll really just select all the green, or put it down. So I want it about not quite there. Let's put the threshold right there. So then we can go into our eraser tool in the hard brush, bump the size up a little bit. We can erase this. You'll see it'll only erase that green stuff. So actually, let's set this back here to white. So whenever we erase it, it only erases the green. Or if you only want it to erase the yellow, tell it just to erase the yellow. So this is really good for removing backgrounds on images. So if you have an image you want to remove the background on, this is the tool to use it on, which is really what I use most of the time. So get back to our white screen, and let's fill this black. And we want to make a gradient. So let's stretch the gradient across. And it actually is just that simple to make a gradient in Gimp. You can make a hard line, really hard line. Or if you want it to be a softer gradient, stretch it along a little longer. Come in from the corner. Now, gradients you can also add to images in a program called Inkscape. I have a video series on that as well. But Gimp can do gradients just as well. And gradients are just really simple, and if you want to change the two colors between the top up here and the bottom, of course you can switch those, and that'll be white and that'll be black, or you can change this color, you know, here to red, and then if you want this, change this to blue, just like that. Now if you have your gradient, it'll be from red to blue, which looks a little weird, but you can do that. So it's a really cool, useful tool that I use all the time. And it makes gradients really simple. So let's change this back to black and white. And of course, if you have a box that's black and you want to change the size of it, you can click on it, drag it around with this tool until it's sheer, and then stretch it like that, and you can just move it around basically in any way you want. You can scale it, and of course you can use the scale tool for images. All this stuff applies for images that you'll pull like right off the internet, the raster images. So Gimp is used for editing raster images. A raster image is what every image you basically see everywhere is. So if I paint this here and zoom in on the edge, you can see all the pixels. Now in vector graphics, which would be programs like Inkscape or Adobe Illustrator or Corel Draw, there is no pixels. It is just lines. It's very smooth. But right now, raster graphics is basically the way to go for everything. That's what you'll find on every image, all the games that you're playing. Those are all raster because that's what your computer can display easier. So you have all these tools and they're very useful, and you'll learn all of them and really get to know them. So this video is the introduction on how to use Gimp, and as you can tell, it's a little daunting at first. Once you get the hang of it, you really can just use it fluently. So I really like how Gimp is free compared to Photoshop that you have to pay for. Gimp, you can just download it right offline and start using it. So I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.